When someone is murdered, especially when they are highly thought of and well liked, it's difficult to work out who would want them dead. The mind would naturally drift to a random attack like a burglary gone wrong, since no one known to the victim could possibly want them dead. In today's case, the police had to keep digging, then dig some more, to work out who had killed Dawn Wagner as 2013 became 2014. And after rooting through stories and lies, the unpalatable truth finally came to light. This is the vicious death of Dawn Wagner, and this is Murderous Crows. Dawn Marie Vercauteren was a hard-working single mother of 4, who turned heads with her good looks and magnetic personality. Her ex-husband Larry Wagner described her this way. She had the kind of smile that when she walked in anywhere, people gravitated towards her. Dawn and Larry began dating in 1999 after meeting through work in Largo, Florida. The couple married 2 years later, and soon they relocated to just outside Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where Larry's parents lived. Now, Dawn had a particularly close bond with her youngest daughter, Sarah, so they were very, very close. Sarah was a popular, outgoing student, but here we go, as usual, she started running with a bad crowd in high school. Her new friends introduced her to drugs, and by 17 years of age, Sarah was using heroin. Although she completed a stint at rehab, she began using once again after she got out. Now, Dawn and Larry, for obvious reasons, struggled with Sarah's addiction. But when she gave birth to a son that she called Skylar in 2011, Dawn was thrilled and happy to be a hands-on grandmother. Dawn worked hard to keep the family together and to be there to support her grandson. But the stress of helping Sarah took a toll on the Wagners' marriage, and they separated. Dawn, Sarah and Skylar moved out of the family home and into a trailer park in Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania. But the move was not the fresh start that it could have been. It seemed that Sarah's problems and troubles followed them, and in 2012 she was arrested for stealing money from her job to buy heroin. As much as Dawn loved Sarah, things were reaching breaking point with Sarah's behaviour. Dawn absolutely adored her grandson Skylar and loved her daughter Sarah. But she simply couldn't take Sarah's behaviour anymore, and was planning to tell her, as they moved towards the year 2014, that they had to move. Now things took a turn on January the 9th, 2014. On that day, Larry called 911 at around 4:45 p.m. He had received a call from Dawn's boss, who told him that Dawn hadn't been to work since December the 31st. Larry duly went to Dawn's trailer and found the door unlocked, so he walked in. He walked down the hallway, and when he flipped the light on in the bathroom, he found Dawn's body. Dawn was obviously dead and had been that way for a few days. The police soon arrived and were greeted by the overwhelming odour of human decomposition. There was blood everywhere. It seemed as if Dawn had gotten into a fight with her killer in the kitchen and had been dragged to the bathroom. There was blood all over the sink, the bath, and the toilet. A bloody hammer was found in the garbage can. Dawn's hands and ankles were bound with duct tape. Dawn's hands were up near her head, as if she had been trying to defend herself. Later analyses would determine that Dawn had been struck 18 times in the neck, shoulders, and face. Given their separation, and Larry just happening to find Dawn's body, naturally he was the first person of interest. So they drilled down into Larry and Dawn's relationship, as they would with him being the most recent significant other. Larry told the police that Dawn's car was missing, as was Dawn's daughter and grandson, so a be on the lookout, a bolo, was put out for them. The police went on to then interview Larry more thoroughly about his history with Dawn. Larry was emotional and shared his life with the police. Larry told them that Dawn had cheated on him with her former boss. And he said that the combination of the infidelity and Sarah's ongoing drug use had led to them separating. Larry said he and Dawn would notice things like jewelry going missing from the home. Sarah had also drained their bank account. Sarah's boyfriend was also another sore subject, as Dawn really despised him and told Sarah that she should stay away from him. The police asked Larry when he last saw or spoke to Dawn, and Larry said he hadn't seen Dawn in days, but had received a message from her on January the 6th. Larry said he knew that it wasn't Dawn who had texted him, as there were a lot of spelling mistakes. The police also knew that Dawn had most likely been dead for quite a few days by that point. The police were able to look into Larry's stories and able to rule Larry out. He clearly still really cared for Dawn and still loved her. But this interview opened up another potential avenue to investigate. There was a strong dislike from Dawn towards Sarah's boyfriend, and the feeling was very much mutual. But was it enough to justify murder? Either way, it was something else that needed looking into urgently. The police were able to speak to Dawn's neighbours, and the neighbours said that Sarah's boyfriend would be at the trailer while Dawn was at work, and he would have sketchy people coming in and out all day. The police were working on tracking down the boyfriend, and they also learned that Dawn's cause of death was actually strangulation. Despite the hammer blows to the head, it was strangulation that finally killed her, and that she had most likely died on December the 31st. Sarah's boyfriend was found at the Allegheny County Jail, where he was being held on unrelated drug and theft charges. Now, this lovely piece of work showed absolutely no emotion when informed about Dawn's death, but said that he had been in jail since December the 28th, and as a result, the police were able to rule him out. But contact with the county jail found another avenue that was needed to be pursued. Dawn's daughter Sarah was also being held at the county jail, and she had a frightening story to tell, as well as a frightening story of how she became to be in jail, which I'll tell you shortly. But the police went to speak to her. They said it was clear that she was a drug addict. Sarah became emotional when she found out that her mother had been killed. Sarah said that she had owed some money to a drug dealer and that he showed up at the home on December the 31st. Sarah said that she was able to pay the drug dealer and that he promised not to hurt her mother. But let's wheel back to why Sarah was in the county jail in the first place. She had been arrested on January the 7th for robbing a bank, while her son was in the car, as you do. In addition, Sarah had driven her son to a subway to attempt to rob it. When she couldn't, she went to a nearby PNC bank and stole $320 in cash. She didn't get far before she was arrested, and Sarah's son Skylar was sent to live with his paternal grandmother. Wow, impressive. The police somehow knew that Sarah was lying in terms of the story she told about her mother, and that this drug dealer didn't exist. The first lie that they could easily disprove was the vehicle that Sarah had been driving. When the police interviewed Sarah, she had told them that she had been driving her boyfriend's mother's vehicle. However, she had actually been arrested while driving her mother's missing red Chevy. How stupid can you be to lie about that? The car had duly been impounded. Then they looked at Dawn's bank activity and cross-checked it with surveillance footage depending on where her bank card had been used, if it had been used. The police checked surveillance footage of Sarah at a gas station and also at Walmart. Sarah had used Dawn's credit cards to, guess what, purchase cleaning products and a Rubbermaid tub at the Walmart. The police picked Sarah up at the county jail and transported her to the Pennsylvania State Police barracks. They gave her a cigarette in the car, and as if by magic, as with a great many people in interview rooms who were gagging for a fag. After having this cigarette, she opened up.
And I asked her if I could use her car to go get marijuana, but I was really going to go get heroin. And I think she kind of knew that. She told me no. And I just wanted to get high. And so I went into the kitchen, and she was in the living room watching TV, smoking a cigarette. And I was making a pizza, and her back was towards the kitchen, so she couldn't see me. And I asked her again to use her car, and she said, no, I'm not using my vehicle. I don't care about marijuana. You're not using it. And I got really, really, really upset. And my body got really hot. And I seen the hammer. And I picked up the hammer. And I stood on top of the counter. And I hit her in the head with the hammer. And she screamed out, what the fuck? And then I jumped off the counter, and then I hit her again with the hammer, and again and again. And then the dog champ came out. We heard her yelling, and he nipped me in the back of the leg, and I hit him with the hammer. And he stopped and went behind the couch. My mom ran to the door, and I pushed her. Hold on a second. I pushed her, and then he kept hitting her in the head with the hammer. I don't know how many times, just kept hitting her. And there just was blood everywhere. And I didn't want my son to get up because he was sleeping in his room. And I don't want her to hear him. I don't want him to hear her. So when she was laying there, I took her by the hands and dragged her into the bathroom. And then I hit her again in the bathroom. And she said, Sarah, you could use my car. I'm sorry, you could use my car. And at that point, there was just so much blood everywhere. And I told her I'm sorry, and I loved her. And then I laid her down on the ground, and I tried to choke her because she was gurgling, and I didn't want her to be suffering. And so I tried to choke her, and I couldn't because it was so slippery. There was so much blood. And then I just left her there. And I went into the kitchen and got the duct tape, and I duct taped her leg because I didn't want her to get out of the bathroom and walk out and then tell on me. And so I tied her legs up, and I seen that she wasn't breathing anymore. And then I went and I heard my son get up, and he's saying, where's mom? Where's mom? And I said, Mom's fine, baby. And I took him into the living room and put cartoons on, and then I started cleaning up the blood. There was blood everywhere, and there was using towels and anything I could find to clean up the blood. And then I cleaned up myself and got to put clothes on, and I took her MAC cards, and I took my son. I packed a couple of days worth of clothes, and I left, and I went to the back machine and pulled out, I think it was $600, and I went to McKeesport and got a brick of heroin, and I went to the motel room with my son, and he was playing, and I called my friend because I didn't know how to shoot heroin. I never shot it before, and I really wanted to because I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. And she came over and she did heroin with me, and she shot me my first time. She showed me how to do it, and then for the past 4 or 5 days, I was just...
Sarah told the police that she had gone to rehab, but by December the 31st, she was craving heroin. Sarah said she asked Dawn if she could borrow her car, but Dawn put her foot down and said no. When Dawn said no, Sarah went into the kitchen and grabbed a hammer, as you do. Dawn was in the living room watching TV with her back to Sarah. Sarah got onto the kitchen counter, why I don't know, but that's what she did, and she struck Dawn with the hammer. Dawn had tried to escape, but Sarah grabbed her by her hair. Sarah then dragged Dawn into the bathroom. Sarah had the presence of mind to put up a baby gate so that her son wouldn't see what was happening. Oh, isn't she a good egg? She then duct taped Dawn's wrists and ankles and choked her until she died. Sarah told the police that she had no idea if Dawn was actually dead, but didn't care. Sarah said she grabbed her son, Dawn's purse, phone and car, and they took off. Sarah had withdrawn $600, bought heroin, and checked her and her son into a motel. Sarah texted Larry and several other people from Dawn's phone to make it seem like she was alive. Quite understandably, the police were stunned by Sarah's confession, during which Sarah had showed no emotion. Sarah revealed that she had gone back to the trailer a few days later to attempt to clean up. Sarah said that she was affected by what she did and couldn't even go to the bathroom. Sarah said that she went to the bathroom in a bucket and threw away the waste in the yard. Classy. Sarah was originally charged with first-degree murder, second-degree murder, and reckless endangerment.
I want to get back to our story now. New information tonight into the murder of a Westmoreland County woman.
Yeah, we're going to go back out live to Action News reporter Ashley Hardway with the latest. Ashley.
Well, Wendy and Mike, the suspect was just walked out of the Greensburg State Police Barracks on her way to Magistrate Court, where she will be charged with criminal homicide in this case. Now, we want to warn you, these details are incredibly gruesome. We can say that the victim was hit at least 18 times with the hammer, and police say that attacker was her own daughter. 51-year-old Dawn Wagner was bludgeoned and strangled on New Year's Eve, according to police. Police say her daughter, Sarah Vercouterin, was angry that her mother wouldn't loan her car, so she attacked her. While Vercouterin's 2-year-old son was inside the home, then police say Vercouterin left the home and went and did heroin in North Huntingdon with the boy present. Police say she even took Wagner's cell phone and sent text messages from it, so her friends and husband would think she was still alive. Police say the attack was gruesome.
The accused grabbed a hammer and struck her mother. She ended up following her and having to strike her several more times. Eventually drug her into a bathroom where she attempted to strangle her, also hit her again and left her there. And that's where she was left, and subsequently that's where we found her when we went down for our investigation.
And she bound her mother's hands.
She bound her mother's hands and legs with duct tape to prevent her from trying to escape in case she was just unconscious, and came back to life.
Now, police also said Vercouterin took her mother's red car and used it to rob a PNC bank in Allegheny County. On Tuesday, police were alerted to the body after Wagner's estranged husband went to check on her yesterday and found her. Again, Vercouterin will be charged with criminal homicide tonight. In Westmoreland County, Ashley Hardway.
On October the 31st, 2014, Sarah had her first of many preliminary hearings. The prosecution said that Dawn's death was premeditated. However, Sarah's defense said that her addiction made her do it. Sarah would have done anything, even murder her mother, to be able to get heroin. In March of 2016, Sarah pled guilty to first-degree murder. On April the 19th, 2016, she was sentenced to life in prison without parole. At her sentencing, she spoke and said, "That was my mother. I feel like I should spend the rest of my life in prison because of what I did to her, and I should not get out." Amen to that, sister. Larry spoke to Sarah in court. He said he still didn't understand why she killed her mother. He said he was sorry for not visiting her, but was still working on forgiving her. Sarah responded that she was sorry. And, of course, this is what they said. Larry saying, "I'm sorry I haven't seen you, but I'm still working on forgiving you." And he also went on to say, "But I love you." To which Sarah replied, "I love you too. I'm sorry." Judge Feliciani immediately imposed a mandatory sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole, with him saying, "The statement that you made speaks volumes about the responsibility that you take in this case. I can only hope you can make some positive out of your life, even though it will be served in prison. Larry Wagner said he prays for his stepdaughter, with him saying, "I hate her actions and what she did, but I love her." Larry went on to pay tribute to Dawn, describing her as a great woman who passed away in a way she did not deserve. He also said, "Today, I think that I just didn't want Dawn to be forgotten." Dawn was a great woman. So many people loved her. This has devastated a lot of people. In 2019, Sarah tried to push back against her sentence. In a legal appeal, Sarah contended that she received bad advice when she was advised to plead guilty to a charge of first-degree murder. And she was seeking for Judge Christopher Feliciani to overturn her conviction and send the case to trial again, with her saying, "All I'm saying is my mother and my son would want me to have something less than life in prison. Part of me knows that wasn't me that day." Judge Feliciani denied her appeal. Oh, you're going to love this. Saying that it was filed more than a year after the deadline to do so. But in something of an olive branch, or maybe a kind of silver lining, he did praise Sarah's efforts to do good since her incarceration. She told the judge that she meets regularly with fellow inmates, talks about her past and the circumstances that led to her murder conviction. Sarah said, "We all know what happened, and I'm not asking you to take back my sentence. I am at a better place in my life now. Even if my story about drugs and heroin can help just one person, my mother would be very happy." Judge Feliciani said that Sarah's message is one that absolutely should be shared, and invited her to address participants of the county's drug court, with him saying, "You're taking the worst situation possible and turning it into something positive. Your mother would appreciate that." And that was the story of Dawn Wagner, whose life was cut short because of the actions of her own daughter, while said daughter was in the throes of addiction and withdrawal symptoms. Do the addiction circumstances change how we should see the crime or mitigate it in any way? To my mind, absolutely not. Sarah made her choices and her decisions, and her addiction, as well as her decision to kill her mother, were among those choices. Don't get me wrong, I have seen firsthand the power of addiction and the lengths that it can push people to. But one thing it does not do is absolve you of responsibility for the things that you choose to do. I just hope Sarah continues to try to do good with the bad that her life turned into. Dawn was a loving friend, mother and grandmother. She was well liked, and it seems her only crime was in believing that her daughter could turn things around. And as a result of standing by her, she paid with her life when the addiction won. She deserved so much better, and the world is worse off for not having Dawn in it. This video is of course dedicated to Dawn, and I hope that she has found peace. Thank you for watching another episode of Murder of Crows. I'm Steve. This sleepy boy is Samson. Oh, hello. Okay. And we will see you when we see you.